like Bill Snyder's, which one is it? Cotton Bowl windbreaker that he always wears. Whichever one it is, it's like 16 years old, he still wears it.
You think he's getting paid?
Oh, really? Oh, is
Like
that
Cotton
all
Bowl?
board man?
Or is there a corporate sponsor of the company?
Yeah, I saw that.
No, I just think he's Bill Snyder. You know, like it's hanging in his office. He only got Taco Bell and he takes 3 hours.
No, bro.
That's good, man. People asking that?
Yeah.
All right. The headline word for it, but whatever. I didn't think anybody else seen it.
I'm just ignoring occasionally. Like, you too focus on that number. Like, every time an ad is on a game, they put 3 down. There's no like, things to be done in 3, so that you just, like, I'm just going to turn it in. Yeah, like 9. I'm just ignoring it. It's just, like, I think he's cool. And if it doesn't have a paper, I can yell. But there's no way the Jayhawks sort of use paper.
Hey,
So it's kind of,
it smells like hot dog in here.
What's up,
he
dog?
hasn't yelled at me once.
What's up, dog?
Kind of waiting for it.
I don't. You're supposed to say something like this.
I'll probably shoot him now.
Spelled dog.
That is.
D-A-W-G.
9.
D-O-D-G. D-A-W-G. And then you were referring to me as like a dog.
Yeah, but 8 o'clock is not.
My reference.
There's no paper in the world.
Dog. A fan.
8 o'clock is like
It's not up there. It's good, fam.
Good
I
fan.
thought it was D-O-G-G.
Because the regular dog only has one G. I do D-A-W-G. I know. You can do that. It's just dog is double G. But I'm not a dog. I'm like saying like a dog.
You're just like a,
I'm like a double G grip.
All the radio stations are in certain areas.
I'm changing it.
This has got to be the first one.
I'm taking it. It's D-A-W-G.
are you going to ask me?
How do you do this?
No, he was like,
Subscribe now, like, to iTunes.
Okay.
You know, I can't see anybody type this too much. Like, I want to see national, like, it's like, people have to get it wrong like 95%. It's insane.
That's because you only notice that
You've given me like a
submission. Yeah.
like for other people too.
What we're discussing now.
I appreciate it. You know,
No, right.
how do you spell it? A-L-L space R-I-G.
yeah.
It's just, it's a running. I had a meeting with Tom when I graduated, and like at the end of it, he referenced an email and said, by the way, all right is keywords. I just like, go to some classes and go to some. Yeah.
A lot of people will just go on.
That's the worst. It's okay. Zero, no, okay. No, that one, I will do okay. I will do alright. The dog, because you're referring to the dog is a dog. But I'm a dog crip. I'm open. So,
Called the timeout with like 30 seconds left till the clock ends in.
is that my big man?
Why would you sit out there? So it can become a tablet?
Yeah. And it has like a little, see like a
Funny how it happens.
so I was carrying around that big like beast for like,
Yeah, that was a big piece. With my wife uses an iPad the other day. He didn't use my good slide Active Pro and he would just irritate me.
Do you want to go?
How much was that? 600?
Stations, this is the Jayhawk IMG Sports Network closed circuit. We are awaiting the arrival of KU head basketball coach Bill Self for his weekly media session at Kansas. So we'll let you know when coach arrives so that you'll know we're about to start. This will be a live unanchored feed and should last about 20 minutes. Test, 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 test. Will this work for white balance? Okay, stations coach Self has arrived, so the Kansas media session will begin at this time.
Salty iguana cookies over there? Okay, have at it.
How about LeGerald Vick and what he's been doing?
Yeah, he's played really, he's played well. He didn't play as well early when he wasn't making shots, but it wasn't because he wasn't making shots. He probably just wasn't quite as aggressive as he is right now. But he's played super, and certainly, getting that production out of him is not that we would we didn't go into the season believing it couldn't happen, but for him to this early in the season to be basically I don't know what it was, but he gave us like 38 points the last two games, something like that is something that is a bonus that we probably didn't expect.
LeGerald said the other day that he thought Frank's more aggressive this year than maybe last year. Do you think that's true, and did you think that was even possible?
Yeah, I think Frank has been more aggressive up until the last game. I didn't think he was very aggressive last game, but yeah, he's been in LeGerald, I'm sure, said that before the last game, but I think Frank's been more aggressive. I think he's looking for a shot more, which is something that, last year he shot the ball probably a comparable amount, but a lot of times he shot at late clock and that stuff. I think he's looking for his own shot earlier in the clock, which is good.
Josh and Udoka have talked about Frank kind of pulling them aside and talking to them before their first starts. Have you seen Frank kind of emerge as more of a vocal leader this year?
At times, yes, and at times, no. I think Frank's had probably as good a start to the season as anybody in college basketball's had. But I do think that there's times where he can be much more vocal. I mean, if you look at it from a coach's perspective, and you have he and Devontae out there together, then it seems like to me it's pretty ridiculous if the other three guys don't know what we're trying to accomplish and do, because it's their responsibility to make sure they do know. So I do think they can talk better. I think Frank's much improved in that area because he's not a natural talker, but I do think he can become more vocal.
The last couple of games, Frank has only played 28 minutes. What's the value long-term in being able to conserve some minutes now?
You know what? They talk about that. I don't know on a 22-year-old what the value is playing 28 instead of 32. I think there's other values that may be a little bit not thought about. I think during every scouting report setting down. I think you stop and think about it, though. That's 2 scouting reports every team over 35 games. That's 70 scouting reports. So maybe some people have their guys on their legs an extra 35 to 50 hours where I don't allow my guys to stand during scouting report. Things like that I think are maybe reducing practice time or reducing his reps in practice. I actually think that is probably as important as a number of minutes, but last year we rode him pretty hard, and as everybody knows, I do think he wore out a little bit by the end of the year. He still played well, but I don't think he was quite as effective at the end. And I think a little bit because he wouldn't admit it, but maybe he was a little worn. So the thing about it is, if you really look at it, if you play 4 guards, he's going to play 35 minutes. He's going to. If you play 3 guards, the majority of the time, he's going to play 30 minutes, which would probably be better for him over time. But it's hard to take him out if you only have 1 guard sub over there. Even if everybody played equal minutes and you play 4 guards, you're dividing 160 by 5. I don't know what that exactly equates to, but that's 32 minutes per person. So that's just average. If you play small the whole time. That's why it's so important that we get our bigs going and we're able to play big more.
How did you get Vic in recruiting? Was that I don't remember that recruitment.
Gary, you should be more on top of your job. That's your job, Gary, to know what goes on with us. He was ranked, but he reclassified. So everybody thought that LeGerald would be a 2016 grad. And he reclassified to 2015 after his senior season was over. So we were fortunate. You look at how recruiting is inexact science, and everything, and so you got all these recruiting experts, which there's numerous ones in this particular room as well. But you have guys that we take Frank and Devontae and LeGerald, and those guys were not at that time considered to be blue chip 5-star type recruits, and they turned out to be pretty good. You just never know. But the thing about LeGerald, you knew he was a great athlete, you knew he had great instincts, and you knew he had great size for a guard. But I will tell you this: he's improved at such an accelerated rate. I don't think I could have anticipated this when he first got here.
Things going as well for him as they have so far. Would you think Memphis could become a place you keep going back to, or does it not work that way?
I think it does. I think it does. Recruiting is we can talk about it from a city standpoint or community standpoint. Then you can even get more specific and talk about from a program standpoint. And I think a lot of times, you get a kid from Chicago or Memphis or Dallas or wherever. And those are such big areas. It's hard to say one guy is just going to allow you to positively get back in there and be involved with every other good kid. Although that could potentially happen. But within that program, I would think your chances are really good that could happen again when you have a kid that experiences a great success from certain AAU programs or whatnot. And certainly he came from, obviously a very, very good program.
Tark Black's also from there.
Yeah, Tark's. Yeah, so there's 2 right there that you would think that maybe allow us to get back in there. Memphis isn't an easy nut to crack though, recruiting wise. But I spent a lot of time down there and come up empty quite a bit. But we did get pretty fortunate with those 2. I mean to see what Tark's done and how this place has impacted him and his future, and to see how LeGerald has kind of exploded on the scene. I would hope that would open some doors.
Do you anticipate him getting Landon back, or is he going to miss some more time?
Don't know yet. He will not practice today, and then we'll see if he can go tomorrow. So I still think he's a day-to-day guy, but I don't know what his availability will be against Stanford.
Bill, how important was that second half the other night for Carlton, just to be able to stay on the floor more and kind of see the ball go in the basket? I
think those things are important. I really do. He's a great kid, and he's gone through a little bit of stuff that I don't know if it's stuff that's really started out small and somehow got a little bit bigger, or if confidence is involved or whatnot. But he made some good plays the second half that certainly I think should give him some confidence. And they were real plays. I mean, it wasn't like lucked into plays. I mean, he did a great job on the glass. He made a couple of face-up shots, which is what he does best. And I thought he did some really nice things.
Seems like he's kept an upbeat attitude, at least during games.
You can't. I mean, he smiles all the time, so you don't know if that's good or bad. You know, Frank doesn't smile. Is he happy or sad? If Carlton smiles, is he happy or sad? Because he don't smile. So I think sometimes it's a little misleading to say that a kid is down if he doesn't smile, and a little bit misleading to say he's really happy if he does, because a lot of that's just a natural reaction to how they've reacted their whole lives to whatever the situation is.
What's your scout on Stanford?
Well, I think they're good. You know, they lost last night to St. Mary's, and St. Mary's could beat anybody, anytime, anywhere. They've got Randy's got one of his best teams, but Jared has a really good team. They've got a great player inside, and certainly they haven't scored a lot of points. If you look at their stats, they're averaging about 66 or 67 a game. But a lot of that's due to the pace that he's playing, which is a great pace for them. But their opponents are shooting a miserable percentage behind the arc. They're not shooting a great percentage from two, and they're really good on the glass. And you know, they do some things defensively that we haven't seen yet. So we'll have to work on those the next 2 days. But I think he's got a nice team. I think Jared, and he's obviously done a great job, but they run good stuff, and I think he's got a really nice team.
When you go up against a team that has, a quality big, knowing the makeup of the guys that you have, how do they respond to what's ahead of them?
I think they'll respond favorably. Everybody that you play that's good has quality bigs. People that play us now, they would still say, well, we got to stop them inside first. I guarantee people would still say that, even though that hasn't been how we've been scoring as consistently. And one reason why our bigs didn't score much against Long Beach State is they made sure our bigs didn't score much, and that's one reason why we got a lot of perimeter shots. But I think our guys will take to the challenge.
Seems like one of the biggest differences for Frank is finishing at the rim. How important has that been for you guys, considering the scoring troubles you've had inside that you mentioned?
Well, he's always been a good finisher. Frank's always been a guy that could finish inside. And let's not get this too screwed up. When they look at points in the paint and things like that, they're looking at all points in the paint. They're not just looking at your center's points in the paint. So, that's the objective, is to be able to score close to the basket. So sometimes people design things where guards are the ones that have opportunities to get in there, and maybe bigs don't as much. We've always been a team up until last year that played inside out, and the last 2 years we've obviously played outside in, and a little bit more so this year because that's probably the strength of our team. But part of the things, if Josh and Frank or Devontae or LeGerald are getting to the basket, those are still points in the paint. Those are still inside points. When I talk about our bigs, and I'm talking about more of an inside presence. If they force a double team and somebody else gets a basket, they did their job. That's a good thing. Nose guards, did they ever make any tackles? No, because they get double teamed every snap. But if they can take on two people in that right, then that opens up other people in the lanes to make tackles. I was always amazed by that. Guys make the Pro Bowl and they have 27 tackles for the season. But they cause total disruption. And I think big guys can do that too, by forcing double teams, by being great sealers, if you seal strong, then you force weak side help, and then somebody else gets a shot because you force weak side help. And I don't think that we're doing those things as consistently as what we can. We always look at points and rebounds, which, granted, are a big part of the game, but there's a lot more that goes into it as well.
You said Frank didn't get out of first gear Tuesday, yet you win by 30. Do you need him to play at the fifth gear for the duration of the season?
I don't know that we need him to play every game at fifth gear to win, but I know that you usually play over time like you prepare to play, and that in order to beat good teams consistently, he has to be in fifth gear. So now you can be in fifth gear and not have a good game, but you can be totally engaged defensively and doing some things that I didn't feel like he was the other night, which is the first time this year. So I'm not going to blast him for that, but I do think that there's there's obviously a consistency and a value that is put on playing at a pace that was faster than what he played at the other night for us to be as good as we could be.
Ordinarily, visiting coaches get booed out of here pretty quick. What do you expect the reaction to be of the folks here on Saturday night?
Well, unfortunately, the reaction will be he'll be the most loved head coach in the building, so that'll suck. But for the, I mean, that, and he deserves that. He deserves that. He was a tremendous player and popular player here when he played, and then of course helped recruit some really good teams after he played, and he's done a really good job after he left here to go to Carolina and UAB and now Stanford. So whatever ovation or response that Jared gets from a positive standpoint is one in which he richly deserves. And I would hope that our fans do treat him right before the game. And then let's not get carried away after the game starts. But before the game, I hope that he's treated like he deserves. And I think it'd be really cool for his players to see how well he's been received. I think that'd be pretty cool for him.
And Bill, this is big picture, but you talked about before the season started, your four-guard offense, trying to figure out what you guys wanted to do with it. I guess what goes into those discussions? What are you guys trying to create with the four-guard sets that you guys do?
Movement. How do we get to the offensive glass out of four guards, which we're not doing at all. When we run our so-called fist series or whatnot, or two game or whatever we run, you have specific roles, and when we got to our 4-out game, understanding exactly what those roles are, where it can be still yet some freelance, but also some set rules. I think and it could be a plethora of things, but certainly understanding ball and body movement and how to attack different situations, I think are things we're still trying to figure out.
Is that with 4 game, you're still kind of tweaking with that and still kind of...
Oh God, yeah. That's just something to get us through right now. I mean, we haven't, we've done some. I think we've done some pretty neat stuff, but we haven't done anything that I feel like right now that consistently that this is how we're going to play in March. I still think we're tweaking and trying to figure it out.
I think you guys have hit, I think, 59% of free throws. Does that?
Well, you should do what?
59% of your free throws. Is that? It's early. I mean, is that troublesome or worrisome?
Yeah. Well, we've been awful from the line, and if you look at it, I hate to say this, but if you look at our freshmen from the line, I don't know what they are, but if you would just look at the freshmen, other than that, we're probably shooting, 75% from the line. I could be off on that a little bit. So I think Josh is shooting 50-something, 54, and Udoka's shooting 33, and Mitch is shooting. That's an easy one to figure out. 0. Okay. So when you stop and think now, if you were to remove those 3 guys, I don't know that it's that bad. But it still can get better. So I think as a team, and those 3 are obviously an important part of our team, I think that's probably the bigger concern is getting those guys, making them consistently.
You talk about keeping those guys off their feet during scouting report and stuff. Is that something you've always done?
No, learned it from Rick Majerus.
Okay. How long ago?
10 years. 15,
Okay, so
yep.
it is new here. You didn't do it at Illinois or anything like that?
No, we did it. Yeah, but even more so. Even more. I've always thought scouting reports should be a classroom setting, where they sit down and you show them, and then you ask questions, and guys have to have answers and that kind of stuff. That's what I've always thought. I've never thought scouting report was a time where you actually defend their actions. I always thought you did that in drills during practice, and that kind of stuff. So That's what I'm talking about. So, you're going to defend their actions, but you may do it in a 3-minute segment during practice or a 5-minute segment during practice. But a lot of people practice, and then when they do scout, then they actually guard it. And which there's nothing wrong with that, but that's just something that we don't do.
If you're late in the year in the tournament, guys have to play 38 minutes certain games. Isn't it good that they've been through that?
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The tournament's a little bit different, at least in my mindset, in that it seems like guys get less tired in the tournament. And it may be because the timeouts are so long, and there's an extra timeout each half. So if there's a 3-minute timeout, let's say a 3-minute break, that's 12 minutes during the first half, plus the mandatory 3 minutes that you get now in the first half that you don't get during the regular season. And then the second half is the same way. So that's 30 minutes they're sitting down, which guys can play 4 minutes and usually recover pretty easy. So I think in the tournament it's more of a foul situation that hurts you more than fatigue when you talk about depth. But I do agree. Guys are young. I mean, you look, Monty Morse for Iowa State's averaged 38 minutes a game for the last 2 or 3 years. I mean, he looks fine to me. And there's other players that do that, but the way that we play and everything, I still think the optimal number would be in that 32 to 34. The guys could still feel very fresh late game if you're able to get them out and give them a little blows, here and there.
What was your message to the team after 19 turnovers Tuesday?
I hadn't seen the team. I mean, we signed basketballs yesterday, autographed basketballs, but I haven't talked to the team as a group. So today will be the first day. I probably won't even bring up 19 turnovers. I think there's many other things that we could bring up. That my son had 3 of them. So I don't even know that I'll bring that up with the team, even though they know we got to take better care of the ball.
Coach, does LeGerald's productivity and explosiveness early in the season give Josh some room to grow into his role without feeling like he has to do more than he needs to right now?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't think kids think of it like that. I think that Josh thinks of it like, I want to get as good as fast as I can, and I think he's shown unbelievable improvement. I'm sure you guys have too since the season started. And he didn't have a bad game against Indiana. He had 9 points in a game in which he fouled out and probably played 16 minutes. I mean, that's not a bad game, but certainly he's been much better since then. But I don't think that Josh looks at it that way remotely. Hey, I'm glad everybody else is playing good, so it takes some pressure off of me. I think those kids look at it like, I want all the pressure on me now, but it is an advantage to be able to have 5 guards out there that are all very capable of making plays and making shots.
He's been pretty good from 3-point range. Is he doing basically what you want him to do offensively, or do you want him to do more? Or?
I think he's fine. I mean, it's hard for me to say. You get such a false sense of, if you look at the Long Beach State or the Asheville game, you get a false sense of what you want your guys to do, because you would say Devontae needs to do more. Well, Devontae's going to do more in games that are tight. I mean, that's kind of how it works. And, Devontae, what, he take 4 shots against Asheville? Well, he can't take 4 shots in a tight game. I mean, he needs to be more aggressive than that. And so, but I think Svi's played very well on the offensive end.
You mentioned a while back that Dwight, while maybe technically healthy, didn't quite have the same explosiveness from before the injury. I'm just curious since then if you've seen that kind of improve.
I still feel the same way, and I think he would tell you the same thing. If he was honest, he may not say that because he didn't want to have that be a crutch. But I think Dwight's been fine in the minutes that he's gotten. But I don't think that he's at the point from an explosion standpoint that he was before he got injured, though.
What more have you asked from Carlton year 1 to year 2?
What more can we ask of him?
What more have you asked, like explaining what his role is this year compared to what it was last year?
You know what? I don't know that we've actually tried to differentiate. I'd love for him to be a guy. Now I've told him, I say I envision 12-7, but his role is being a defensive presence, blocking or altering, being a great defensive rebounder, active on the glass, playing smart. I don't think I ever said that you have to make shots for you to play well, and he doesn't. He doesn't have to make. If he just worries about the right things, which he will, then he'll play better and be more effective because it's kind of like LeGerald. He'll get some junk just because he's in the right place at the right time, and that gives you confidence. But I'm not concerned about him or Landon from a standpoint, or Udoka being more efficient or being more of a presence. I think we'll get there, but I think the reality is that up until this point we haven't gotten there. But I know that they're more capable of doing that.
Anything else? All right, thanks, Coach.
Okay, thank you guys.